Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Inquisition with Shane from Donegal Dice Winners. Hope you're all well today. And yeah, looking forward to the start of No New Guest November. The silliness that we couldn't really be bothered getting a new guest last year. So we went, fuck it, let's just bring back old cunts. So we're bringing back, not an old cunt, but a guy that's maybe a cunt, but maybe not a cunt, but could be. But he's definitely unscared for your old dad at the old Warhammer. So hope you are all well. If you have any questions for Shane, he is a wizard on the gaming table. He answers the same question that I ask him every week that we play, and hopefully we can get some questions into him, and we'll see how late. And we'll bring in the man who came second place and the Call to Chaos, which Evil Daniel run last week. How you doing, Shane? Thanks for joining us.
I can confirm in my account, by the way. So I caught that.
You are or you aren't?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. We know.
It doesn't look like you have an
It was just for people that maybe didn't know, but you know. So it's 31 minutes past 7, and we're still waiting for Casey. This is bang on Casey's schedule. So yeah, how you doing this week, Shane?
Panicking that I still have painting to do.
Yeah, but
um,
you've got some pretty amazing orange brushes there, so this
I
should help
do.
you.
I do. So that'll help just a little bit. I'm not going to be brave enough to paint while we're doing this because I'm not that good at multitasking. So I will be applying some Sterling mud to some bases while we're here, but that's about the height of my hobby while we're here.
Sweet, sweet. So for folks that don't know you, apart from the four people that have come in and three of them actually already know you, do you want to just give yourself a wee introduction about yourself, how you get into Warhammer and all that sort of jazz?
All right. Um, My name's Shane. Porter, for anyone that doesn't know me, part of the Porter Computer Repairs in Pontcran where we play and where we buy all our plastic crack from as well. So I've been playing Warhammer since I was about 12, which is going on, I need to do the math on this real quick, which is going on 26 years now. So just over a quarter of a century playing Warhammer from about third edition, I think it was, or the end of third into fourth. Um, been in pretty much every edition with the exception of seventh. I glanced at seventh, did not like what I saw, and just didn't go into it at all. Played a bit of sixth and a bit of eighth, but it's been third to fourth to fifth to sixth, and then stop, and then eighth, glanced, ninth, wholly into it, and tenth, probably the most I've ever done at all, ever. And that includes when fifth edition was big, and I was playing in ETC in Geneva as well for Team NI, more of a fun team than anything else. But that's my whole spiel. I'm a software engineer by nature, job, whatever, but I spend most of my time, as everyone else in this hobby, painting small little miniature men.
So what was it about seventh edition that you didn't really like?
So I'm trying to recall back, but effectively they had changed a lot of the rules at the time, and it was more just a glance. So I had come out of fifth into sixth, and sixth was okay. I was kind of losing the vibe for playing. A lot of fifth was really bad because it was like lists that would just table you turn one, turn two, which is why I like the team side of it a bit better because your matchups were predicted slightly rather than just randomly into single people. But I just kind of glanced at the rule set in seven, and just wasn't really for me at that point. But yeah, it was nothing necessarily wrong with the game. It was just time in life. Work was work. Um, it wasn't. I definitely wasn't as comfortable in work as I probably am at the moment. So there's always that kind of like that fear of, well, I shouldn't really be doing my hobbies. I should concentrate on the career and family and everything as well, which is a good thing for times. But for your own sanity, it always helps to go back into the hobbies too. Not saying I didn't have hobbies, but I dropped a pretty major one when it came to middle of sixth, going into seventh as well. But yeah, it just
And
wasn't an interesting one to me.
yeah, and for people that don't know, like you're a big Black Templar player. What was
Okay.
it about the Black Templars that like attracted you to them in particular than any other faction or legion out there?
So I didn't start with Templars. My auntie is actually responsible for getting me into Warhammer, and she bought me a Carnifex. It was my first ever model, the old metal one, or sorry, metal body plastic legs that I tried to glue with plastic glue, as smart as I was then. But I would have then gone to Tyranids mostly, into Tau, and then finally into Templars. The things that drew me to Templars were the abundance of their iconography throughout the books at the time. So the rule book and all had like lots of them in it. The starter set from third obviously still resonates in my head, and that was Black Templars and Dark Elder, I think. Don't think it was Elder. I'm pretty sure it was Dark Elder, but I don't care about Xenos, obviously. So, but Templars just looked cool to me. They also had a really cool rule in fourth edition that was a kind of a call over from the rule codex called Preferred Enemy, which effectively just made you amazing in fourth edition. And they also had some like cheeky rules with regards to what units they could and couldn't bring. When I went to ETC in 2011, I think it was, or it might have been earlier than that, I can't remember the year, but they had cheaper units. And oddly for Templars, they had cheaper shooting units. So you could run a whole load of land speeders, terminators, and land raiders and just have an absolute massive amount of firepower out of them. But yeah, they were just everywhere, and they were the kind of the chapter that I gravitated towards. No, I'm not like your man in Spain that went full far right with his armies. I'm not interested in any of that anti-Xeno stuff or anything in real life, but their lore and everything is quite fun in the 40k universe as well.
They also had
And
that
well,
thing as well, didn't they? Because they just had the Terra Codex beforehand, so then they had like the Crusader squads and everything like that was just bumped into them, wasn't it? So you had like your 5 extra Marines, and then what was the Land Raider? Someone would tell
Crusaders.
them. Yeah.
Crusaders. They
So
only had that one in, originally for Templars, which I get why the other Space Marine chapters get it now, but it was nice having your own little thing. Um, but yeah, there were 20-man squads back then as well.
yeah,
My actual start in the Templars was rocketed because of a very kind person that sold me their entire. If anyone remembers those plastic army cases you got from GW originally,
yep.
those small ones. He sold me a box, like a crate full of just Templars. It had every model you'd need for an army to start. So I didn't even really have to like buy a ton of stuff myself. It was already mostly painted, had all the characters you would need, had two 20-man bricks of neophytes and crusaders, which was cool. And had one of the old metal predators, which I still have lying around here somewhere. Not that I would use it anymore, but still.
what is going on with your camera, Casey? Because it's slowly going up and up and up and up.
It's
Casey's one,
currently
or am I?
balancing on my leg because the missus is out tonight, so I get to have the pleasure of actually being able to sit in a nice room for once and not my kitchen. So I am in a precarious homemade tripod using my legs.
And what are you playing on your Xbox?
Uh, I was halfway through a game of Streets of Rage, which is why I was late, so I was just trying to finish it off. Sorry.
That's all right.
Very,
Great game.
very professional on this show, aren't we, Don?
Yeah, we've got a professional looking icon, but we don't have a professional work ethic.
Nah.
So you briefly touched on it in your intro that you represent Team Northern Ireland. Why Team
I
Northern Ireland and not Team Republic of Ireland? Is it because of the
Uh,
distance?
so there's two answers to that. One, I have citizenship for the North or the UK, whatever you want to say that as well. I was born in USA, so not United States, but what we refer to of the maternity ward in Alton Gavin Hospital in Derry is upstairs Alton Gavin. All the ones from the south that were born there always refer to USA. I'm sure the North ones do as well. The other side of things, back then, personally, I wasn't very good at the game. I'm not saying I'm fantastic at it. I do enjoy the competitive side of things, but I was definitely worse back then. And Team NI, at least for ETC when it was a thing, you weren't there for the wins. Like I think they were usually in like the bottom 5, 10 teams that were there. And they weren't there for the wins. I mean, we were trying to win at the same time. We weren't just throwing games, but there were much more better and competitive teams than us. So we were there for the fun, basically the crack of it all. And it was always fun. Like I remember drinking, not beer, thankfully, but it would have made me sick. Drinking just on the balcony outside our hostel over a storm, looking over Lake Geneva, and it was still one of the best memories and experiences in my life. I don't enjoy paying what we did over there for everything at the time because the euro had done this weird flip with the Swiss franc. But everything about that was just a fantastic holiday and then session as well. Um, Now, I've represented Northern Ireland as a coach 2 years back now for Team NI, and that was much more competitive focused. The guys did absolutely amazing. We were just there for help, making sure players were uh, basically fed and watered and setting up tables and just helping out with general kind of communications of scores. So the way WTC works is you can't physically tell everyone what you're doing, what every other table is doing. You can communicate back to the captains what the rest of the players are doing, but you basically hold this sheet up of random numbers between 0 and 20, and then the player on the table points to the one with that they think they're going to get for the score. So you have a way to communicate that back to the captain and try and keep them informed, and whether you might need one player to, hey, you need to score more, or just hold exactly what you've got, don't go anymore. And to circle back to the original question, why I didn't go for Team Ireland is it's further away. Like,
Yeah.
I was in Dublin for the ETC one. I just wasn't really a good player. For Team Northern Ireland, I know the Northies a lot better than all the Team Ireland folks there. Not that I don't know the Team Ireland folks, but I know the guys better. At the time, it would have been Johnny Fisher, and now it's like Mark Morrow, captain this year again. It would be Halsey, who was captain the year when I went for coaching 2 years ago. I think he was captain last year as well, but Mark Morrow was captain now. But yeah, I'd still say I'd gravitate towards Team NI before I'd even consider even putting my name in the hat for Team Ireland. No animosity to the Team Ireland guys, great bunch of lads. They were definitely the more competitive team back in like 2011 and all as well, on the island. But just never really come up to ask, or never really tried to throw my name into it either.
I would say the distance thing's just quite a thing as well, because even though it's a small island, you live in the arse end of Donegal, so it would be like 4.5, 5 hours if you're going to
At
Dublin.
least,
But if you're going to like Cork, you're talking like 3 days. Do you know what I mean? By the time you get your horse and cart ready, do
yeah.
you know what I
I
mean? And
mean,
then
even when you're traveling for these things that are international, like we went to a teams tournament with Team NI in Poland. No, the flight is about 3 hours. The bus ride to the venue when we got there was a long time because we were going around the way, or a taxi ride. But even just to get from Donegal to the airport, you're talking you got to leave at least 6 hours beforehand for the 2 hour check-in side of things. It's astronomical when it comes to the logistics of this stuff. And yeah, we live in the ass end of nowhere county, but I live in the ass end of nowhere part of said county as well, so it makes things harder. And we
I
don't
think
have
that's
lovely
something.
trains up here like everyone else does.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think that's something that people forget about Ireland as a whole, isn't it? That unless you drive, you're knackered, and even when you drive, it's still a fair old distance. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's a small place, but it's a pain in the ass to get around because you've got all these mountains, all these locks, all these things
All these
that.
castles, all
Yeah,
these
it's
roads. Like we used to have trains. To be very clear, we used to have great trains all over the island of Ireland. There's a map out there somewhere that shows like what we have now versus what we had pre 1916 kind of thing, or actually, well, up to like 1920, I think it was. But we tore up a load of the train tracks because we saw it as, I guess, British rule, and it was very. I mean, it was fair. The way the troops got around in Ireland a lot was via the very good train network. There still are good train networks in Ireland. Just we happen to live in this one place where they've just literally forgotten about anything with regards to that. And the north, to be fair to the north kind of look at us as another county for up there sometimes as well. One of the old time jokes was when there was a big snowstorm that hit Ireland. Well, it must be about 12 years ago or something, or longer than that probably. It was when I was in Dublin, so probably 2010 or 13. Big snowstorm hit. All of Dublin shut down. All the counties shut down. No one was going anywhere. There's massive snow drifts over different places, and then they showed these emergency responding maps in some like RT news show of what the government's doing, and all the counties were there except for Donegal. So there was some joke going around in one of the local Derry Journal newspapers at the time saying we'll adopt Donegal and we'll include you in our maps because the north get hit by snow and they function. We are a little bit better after this now, but back then it was just everything shut down. It was stupid, but yeah.
we are known as the forgotten county, because like people from the south think that Donegal's part of the Republic, sort of part of Northern Ireland, and people from Northern Ireland forget that it's part of the Republic. It's wild, like it's mental. We are the forgotten county,
so one
but
little lip, isn't it?
In
they
fairness, they
are.
all come down here as well. Like all the Northies keep coming to Donegal, spend all your tourist money. We love it. It's so fantastic.
So Are you back coaching? Because I think I heard you on the Cult of Chaos on Saturday, which was the tournament that we were at, that you were maybe going to be doing a bit of coaching this year for Team Northern Ireland.
I think they're going to have 5 coaches in total this year compared to our 3 or 4 the 2 years ago. Well, I think they might have more than 5, but you only allowed 5 at the tables. But yes, fingers crossed, all going well. The last year, I've kind of put off everything because since we last had a session on here, we built our house. It's not done yet. It was meant to be done in like May, and it was meant to be done in August. And as you can probably tell, it's November now, and still not done. The new goal is 24th of November to be done, but I put everything else on hold. I wasn't going to like very many, if any, Warhammer tournaments or anything this year, and just kind of like watching the finances and everything while we're doing this. And just watching time as well. Most of my Warhammer was in storage, a few things out. But yeah, the idea would be hopefully in coaching again for August is the next WTC. I think it's always August now. I can't remember when it was for the ETC, but it's always August, middle of August, I think it is this time around. There will obviously be other team activities between now and then. For Team NI, there might be team tournaments. I didn't go to the Battle of Britain, which I think is already done. But there's plenty of other tournaments to go on, whether it's singles or team tournaments, and lots of teams practice. 2 years ago when I was participating in the team, I was trying to get on the team to play as well, but to be perfectly honest, I was edged out by plenty of other better players. So I was very happy to coach at the same time. It was a different experience, but very enjoyable. But I was going to all the training sessions and qualifying stuff and all as well. And that meant Belfast once a week, pretty much every week. Now the drive up there is amazing with the A6 now, so I have no qualms with that. But it was a lot of time spent in there and built a lot of rapport up with the lads, obviously, as well. And genuinely enjoyed it. So, but yeah, this year I am full set goals. I'm going to hit as many tournaments I can during the year. I've only got really broadsword this weekend and February one coming up. As soon as I see anything else in the island, I'll be going to it as much as I can. And I won't be playing on the team, but I'm going to do what I love, which is Excel spreadsheets. So every team will have Excel for, well, not necessarily always Excel, but things for managing your matchups, your opponent's armies, what their win rates might have been in previous games. So I'm going to enjoy building a couple of Python scripts for that as well. A couple of things to scrape BCP, which is best goes pairings for anyone that doesn't know, and just get that general detail and information really, really quickly rather than having to do it manually. I did do it manually 2 years ago, and I'd never want to do it manually again. So I'm going to automate that as much as possible. But yeah, can't wait for that. Absolutely love the Team NI guys. Solid bunch. It's mostly the same folks as 2 years ago, with a few changes in there. I'm not actually sure who's on the playing team. I think it's January when they decide who that is, but I'll need to double check that as well. They have every team will have processes for picking the team members for reference. So they'll have like constitutions and all about how they do that. What is based on points? Does the captain get any choice picks as well? So I need to actually look that up. But as I said, house isn't ready yet, so I'm still kind of on pause now until end of this month, I hope. And then we've got Christmas, which is going to be a massive family affair here.
Part 2 of what happened there, I don't know. It just died. So I don't know if it was maybe the internet or something. I don't know, but we'll go back. We'll get Shane back on. So much fucking information in relation to, what do you call it, competitive play, and he was getting right into the nitty-gritty there, which is, I just thought it was like you just turn up, get some dice, chuck some dice, and everybody's good. But yeah, it was quite interesting what we were going on about there. I didn't realise it was as deep as it was. So we'll get Shane back on, and we'll see. Because usually, yeah.
Don't know what happened there, it just died. So apologies for everybody in the stream that was watching there. It literally just died. Sorry about that, Shane. I don't know what happened there, because it usually, like when we've had this problem before, it usually gives you like a countdown saying that there's a, I don't know what's going on. Fuck it, stupid Instagram, man. I'll just send Casey an invite.
I remember where I ended off, so I'll ask you what you last heard, but I can repeat some of that again as well.
So you were saying there about your champion army and people refusing. That's as far as what we Is I think
So,
that's
like
where
I
it's
said,
cut
I
off.
will get some of it wrong, but effectively the pairings work out at a captain v captain level. You're allowed other inputs from your other players in your team, but the captain is effectively putting up the cards. Um, the idea is there's more than an element to just the pairings of the teams, like the armies against each other. Um, and depending on ones as well, also pick the first table layout. So there are 8 table layouts. There's light, medium, and heavy, but there's 2 of each effectively. Well, 2.5 of each because there's more medium. But there's 2 light, 2 heavy. So obviously, if you're a melee army against a shooting army, a very heavy terrain table is very beneficial to you. Whereas if you're a knight's army against a horde army, a very light table will be much more preferential to you. So there's more than just the team matchup side of things, and that comes into the matrix side of things that people set up in Excel or whatever they're using. Now, the whole competition itself is bigger than that too, because there's group stages that then feed into like the finals too. And the way the groups are done, there's a seeding rank and everything for teams. So like the better teams are kind of in with some of the lower level teams too. And Duncan, you mentioned you just think people show up and throw dice. People do throw dice, obviously, because it's part of the game. People physically throw dice across halls as well. As I remember what happened, I'm not going to mention which teams, but there was an incident at the 1-2 years ago where a dice was flung very far across the aircraft hangar in Belgium, and I think it might have hit one of the German team. Not 100% sure, but yeah. But yeah, it is super complex of what they go into for the team games. Now, me and Sammy Ferry, you've met, obviously, Duncan from our group, we're chatting about what to do next for the Donegal area. And one of the little ideas that we had was maybe a small team kind of tournament setup, maybe 4-man teams, 5-man teams, either randomly assigned, which might be a little bit harder to manage, or just let people take a few teams from their area and show up. And obviously, if you get folks coming that have played in WTC teams before, you're probably going to get a stomping. But it's a better experience from an overall play style point of view, because you get some degree of choice of who you're playing versus just completely random in singles. Now, that might favour you, that might not. You might end up being Death Guard, always playing against Death Guard just as a mirror match, just to get rid of that army against each other. But the team aspect of 40k, it's not for everybody, but it is thoroughly enjoyable. And I would recommend, if anyone has access, to join in a team tournament in any way, shape, or form, whether it's coaching or actually playing. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're getting a little bit maybe bored with competitive 40k, because it's another level to that. And you don't need to get into all the spreadsheet stuff and all. You can leave that to the coaches or captain. They'll get responsibility
So
for that.
see when you're playing like teams, so obviously it's like you and somebody else versus somebody like 2 other people. If you're playing duos, right? So if do you have 2,000 points each, or is it like a 2,000 point game and you just get 1,000 points each? How does that work?
It actually would depend on the tournament. I don't think any tournament would run 4,000 points, because you play one game a day, most likely, with that number of points. Normally it's 1,000 points each. You actually do get varying double games. Most doubles are 2 people show up as a doubles pair and they participate in the tournament. Myself and Joseph were looking to do one of those, I believe, in Warhammer World at one point that I had to flake on. Still haven't been. But other double tournaments might randomly assign you. So it might just be you show up in the day, here's your partner, you've got your army, they've got theirs, and there may be no cohesion between the 2,000 point lists at all, which might end very terribly. But to me, that might be a slightly fairer way to play it, or at least randomly way to play it. But in doubles, I would say the most of them are probably 1,000 points each. You might get 500 point ones as well. You wouldn't usually get a mix and match, like one person bring 250, one brings 750. It just wouldn't be balanced, really. You could probably game your armies to be slightly in sync as well. Like 1,000 points of Death Guard as your brunt force at the front, not being able to be killed, and 1,000 points of guard that's just all artillery tanks in the back. It was probably more balanced in 9th edition for doubles, in my opinion, just because of the force org charts that you had to bring certain unit types. Now your only limit is you bring a warlord, and you bring whatever you want up to a max of 3 of that type of unit. So you could get really cheeky in doubles and just be like, here's my 3 basilisks, and I'm trying to think of the points. Here's my 3 basilisks and maybe 2 manticores and Cadian command squad, and now my other 1,000 points person is just all melee. now you have to get through him while I'm just going to shoot you to death. So there could be a lot of shenanigans going on in double tournaments now, especially in 10th edition.
So I'm just going to go back to Saturday because we had a big tournament there in Saturday, ran by Flippin' Danny, or as I like to call him, Evil Daniel, who totally forgot that he was ready to give me terrain and then tried to backtrack and then said that I'd never sent him a message on Sunday, but I did, but he said he was drunk. But obviously you came in second in the tournament, but the big highlight for you was beating Joe for the first time in a competitive game. How does that rank in your Warhammer experience?
Oh man, it's right up there. Like Joe's there in the chat. It is like number one, like top 10 moments. Number one, birth my children. Yeah, 100%. Like Joe's right up there. Me and Joe have been playing since literally we were the same age. We're only like across the road basically from each other in our locality here. Joe has probably and just in games in general, like a 99% win rate against me. So having that win is amazing. Having a win in a competitive tournament on your first game of the day, Joe will tell you I was like this throughout most of the game, to the point of at one, I think turn 4, he goes, now you've got a spring in your step or a hop in your step. You're actually hopping around the place because it was starting to go my way. But yeah, it was. I love Joe, absolutely best one out there. But that was couldn't ask for a better moment of the day.
I think as well that I think when people seen, because we got the pairings on Friday, I think, and because I started the trash talk on Wednesday. I think when people seen the pairings on Friday, I think people thought that there was a really good chance because you were playing each other, you both wouldn't end up in the top 2. That there would be a good chance, and then that wee cunt for New Buildings, Gavin, snuck in and won it by what, 3 points or something. He robbed you of.
No, it was like I think it was 12 in total. To be clear, Gavin didn't rob me because I know he's there in chat as well. He did phenomenal. I robbed myself by not chasing secondaries. I had an entire turn against Mark Doherty and his GSC in the final, where I didn't score a single secondary, and that would have been worth it, potentially 10 points. And then just at the very end, of all the advance rolls to fail, my turn 4 advance for my Judiciaris Crusader block unit, big mass 20 block, just an extra inch, and I would have been on his home field objective. I would have been in turn 5. I would have been burning it at the end of my turn 5, and it just would have been 15 points out of that as well. It's my own fault, entirely my own fault. But I'm super proud of Gavin. Like, I gave him so much shit for his list the night before, not intentionally. It was more just like, look, if you're going this, be careful. He did amazing against Chaos Demons, or World Leaders running Chaos Demons in the first game. And I give him so much shit. I'm so happy as a result from him. He did amazing. I'm not so happy that the Cesspit lads won all the prizes, though. They won like 2 raffle prizes, first place and best opponent as well.
And did they not win best?
Robbed the best opponent.
But like, I think it was a really good event, and I think it's definitely something that we should be doing a lot more. And I think even you were talking about Warhammer World, we should organise a Donegal Dice Wingers trip to Nottingham to go to Warhammer World. I think that'd be pretty cool as well. We'd probably get framed for like blowing up people and we could be the Donegal 6 or something. You know what I mean? We've had the Guildford 5 and the Birmingham 6. We could be the Donegal 7. You know what I mean?
As long as we don't get jailed for it, it'll be alright.
Now we could get a good payout though. Look at the money in the long term, book deals, movie deals. Do you know what I mean? It's all good.
Yeah, so, and all the hunger strikes and stuff like that in between it's probably not worth it.
Wait, listen, I could do with missing a few meals, so I would happily take the hunger strike option. But talking about tournaments, you're going to Broadsword this weekend.
Which is why I'm doing this as well.
As a much with the list that you're on Saturday, are you changing much with that list?
Not a thing. So my list is, I laughed. I always do this for the bigger tournaments. I always like going through all the armies that are there and giving just a general breakdown. I have of course, it's me. I have the Excel spreadsheet on the screen behind me here, of all the armies, all the detachment loadouts. I will go through all the lists at some point, or at least some of the key ones, like players I recognize names for, and just see what they're running. But I was very happy with my list outcome from Call to Chaos, so I'm going to stick with it for that reason. But looking at the other Black Temple players, they're all running what everybody else says is the best detachment for Black Templars, which is Gladius Task Force, which is the best detachment for all Space Marine chapters, almost, exception of Dark Angels, probably, and Blood Angels as well. But I'm not a fan of Codex compliancy, so I would just like to leave it alone and stick with the Black Templars detachment. They give me a brand new Codex, I'm going to happily use it. I'm going to happily use the detachment. Companions of Eminence is the detachment for anyone that knows the Black Templars out there. I love it. It's my playstyle. The detachment rule is basically you reroll all your advances and all your charges. So I have two big massive units that are going to run at you. You're not going to be able to kill them in time. And if you do kill them, they move closer to you. And they're just going to keep coming. And they're just going to hit you as hard as possible. While then I have two other smaller units that are just going to do a ton of damage. And I've got like one tank that's just going to do a ton of damage as well. Now, my list is called Charge Pressure for that exact reason. I can't wait to run into some of the armies that Broadsword that I've seen already, and then some of them terrify me. There's somebody running 100 boys orc list, and I'm still trying to do the math in my head to figure out how to properly kill it. I don't like my odds against that one. But I was super happy with the performance of my list. It's a utility list as well. So although it has all this melee pressure and very little shooting, it has a lot of other action pieces in it that can do other things while I need. So I've got like a sticky objective unit, so I don't have to hold my home field necessarily. I've got infiltrators to try and screen out some of the deep striking armies, which are still a few out there. Not as many when Grey Knights were running in their heyday, but there are still a few. And then I've got a utility unit for scoring as well, which is Assault Marines. A lot of people look at my list and go, this won't do what I like, and in terms of what they look at, this might not be the most meta chasing lists either, but it feels comfortable to me as well. And I'm actually a big proponent for that. Play the rule of cool when you start Warhammer. When you're into the competitive scene, play the stuff that is comfortable with you, that you enjoy. If you like running 120 bodies on the board, run 120 bodies. If you want to bring 3 big knights and a couple of small knights, do it. Yeah, enjoy the list you're playing. If you're just running a competitive list and you're like, I hate playing this list, and some people in teams will do that as well, I hate playing this list, it just gets me 10-10 every time. That's a massive thing in a team's game, to guarantee a draw every single game, but you might be bored as hell by it and just not want to run it. And it could make you give up 40k because of it. You could be that sick of running an army that you just don't want to ever play again either. So I'm a massive proponent of run the list that you enjoy running, especially in singles and like friendly games and stuff like that, and run the stuff that you enjoy playing. And to me, that's a lot of black armor bodies running across the field at the other side of the board. That's it. I'm not a hold back kind of person in most cases, unless it's smart in turn one. But I will happily just absolutely boot up the board at my opponent and throw absolutely everything at them, and use as many cheeky tricks as I can for my stratagems. But yeah.
And just before I pass you over to Casey, just something you mentioned about lists. Are you a fan of like publishing lists before the
Yes.
tournament starts, or would you prefer the element of surprise with some people?
Lists is kind of a needed thing before a tournament, especially bigger ones. Called Chaos, you could probably get away with not knowing what all the lists were until maybe the night before. I like having that, not necessarily advanced knowledge because you don't know who you're going to play, but just a general feel for like what the tournament scene is like. Like, are we getting like tons of anti-tank, tons of knights? Is there counters because there's just tons of that list? Like Broadsword looks like a very balanced setup, although there's no Tauge or Carrier Agents of Imperium. It still looks very balanced overall as far as the meta goes at the moment. I do like the list published ahead of time for that. What I would say, and this, I guess this might be controversial to some people that like going to tournaments, I don't like knowing the pairing that I'm into until the morning of. I would prefer to know when I get to the tournament in the morning, 9 o'clock, registration's done, here's your pairing. And that's when it's released. Agonizing it over it for a couple of days or the night before, that destroys me, as Joe in the chat will tell you from one of the broadswords a couple of years back, where I woke up bolt upright. He was staying in the room beside me and was like, what the hell did Dan Hearn's Blitz do? Because I've been talking about obliterators all day. And Dan is a slight nemesis of mine because, again, he's one of these ones I've never, ever had a chance to beat. He's just a phenomenal player in there as well. But yeah, I don't like agonizing over the pairing that I'm into the next day. So I could live without that. I could wait until the last moment to know the pairing and just know the list beforehand, just as a general kind of idea of what's going on. There's no real advantage in singles to knowing all the lists beforehand because there's just too many people to really know. You can't change your list, so there's no advantage out of that.
And whose bed was he in, Joe? Was he in your bed or his bed?
It really depends on the moon outside. So
There's a full one tonight, so you might want to double check.
no, he's a good like hour and a half drive away from where he's safe, so he's fine.
It's funny that you mentioned about the release of pairings in advance versus on the day and like lists. I think it's interesting to me because I'm not a tournament player. It's not something I've ever done. It's not something I've ever been interested in. But is there that real sense that sometimes you can over prepare for it? Like if you know who you're going to be coming up against first, that you sit there and you proper agonize over, right, if they do this, I'm going to do that. If we roll here, I'm going to have to go there. And, you sort of over prepare for it, I think would be the best way of sort of.
Yes, I mean you can talk yourself into a loss before it's even happened.
Yeah.
You can also talk yourself into a cocky win and then get absolutely nailed because of it as well. So there's downsides to that. Um, it was easier at the start of 10th because everybody just had an index and Space Marines had their codex and Tyranids had their codex. There was very little to know about it. Basically, every army had like one detachment that they could use in most of the cases. So you didn't have to agonize too much. Now every army has their codex. Every army has at least like 3 to 4 detachments. I think at least 4 now with the Grotmus ones. So there's so much information out there you'd never know it all. The good thing about 10th though is a lot of the rules are very similar. So like it's referred to, say, as a blood surge move, but it'll be called something different in the abilities. But almost every unit that has it, it's basically the same rule. Feel no pain. It might be named differently, but it's basically the same rule right throughout. So it makes it nice and easy to assimilate that knowledge. So you don't necessarily need to know every in and out of your opponent's list or potential opponent's lists if you know the core rules and the core abilities that are out there. Obviously, there are still some detachments that throw wobblers at that, and they might have slightly different wordings to things or slightly different abilities or slightly different stratagems, but a lot of it is very similar and the same as well. But you could definitely talk yourself into a loss by just going over stuff too much. I've seen it. That happened to me. I've done it to myself. So it is entirely a thing. I think there was a good one from Broadsword before. One of the Team NI guys had gone 3-0 day one, so he won all 3 of his games with Votan, and he was going into day 4, and he had a pairing against Danaher as well. And everybody was chatting about what he could do and should do and all like this. And I think that talked him into the lower score because his ability was much better. So I think you kind of have to shut out a lot about that, and that would be immediately resolved if the pairings weren't released until the following day. There'd be no agonizing over it or anything like that. So
I think that's what happened with me on Saturday. Like I was convinced I was going to win everything, and I ended up. But then I also thought that me and you had a deal that we were going to meet each other, and you decided to run scared.
Man, I did my best. I did my best to meet you. The dice went my way, unfortunately. So that wasn't to be. We'll have to get another one. And in my head I was like, that's all right. He's at Broadsword. I'll see him there. And then you told me you weren't at Broadsword, and I was like, oh damn, okay, no.
I might see you. I might see you in Ballyclare because I think I've pretty much got the permission slip signed that I'm going to Ballyclare in February.
Okay.
So I signed up for that. I'm
That'll
looking
be
forward
fun.
to that. But I'm actually taking the competitive side a wee bit more serious. Where I played a lot more games, and I think, as you know, like I think I've been saying to everybody, I hadn't won a game in over a year until Saturday. But that didn't bother me because I've been learning over the last year the mechanics of the game, and I think with the list that I'd taken, I just went for the R0ot. I wanted to take a War Dog because I like the War Dog and how they look, even though it did fuck all. But I still liked it.
They used to be better. Like
Yeah,
I think they were better as
I
light
just,
before. I'm not saying they're bad now, but they used to be better.
I just like the model. Do you know what I mean? And I just enjoy playing. I think it was good as well because I hadn't played the 3 people that I played. I had only played Caden in the first Call to Chaos like 2 years ago. So the other 2 boys that I had played,
Was he running Custodes that time? I can't remember.
I was playing Custard Creams. So I played him in round 1. Uh, so playing him again and see where I had improved, and then playing 2 random guys that I'd never played before was pretty good as well. But this isn't about me. This is about you running scared, but also beating Joe for the first time.
I did not want to face Death Guard at all. Like they're too stinky. That's the height of that one. Like, I genuinely thought Joe was going to absolutely trash me game one. Like, hand to heart. He still says that it's like, no, I had a better advantage in that game from the army list versus his. I was going into that game thinking I'm going to do my best, but I'm probably going to come out with this with a loss because it's 1 point difference. It's not WTC scoring in Call to Case or Broadsword. You win by a point, you win. So I was thinking it would be maybe close and he'll pull ahead at the end. He just has a list that would, if it hit me right, is going to take me apart in my eyes at least. So I thought that was going to be first game lost, and then me and Duncan right up there. We were going to be paired into each other and have that grudge match there. Or my other prediction was I was going to have one loss, one win, and then we'd meet in the final. Not the top table final, but we'd meet in the final for the last game as well. But not to be.
I did my part. I lost 2 games to hopefully see him in the last round, but
What can you do?
I got a very good matchup round two. Like it was horde guard with not a lot of tanks. So I was very happy with that with a melee army. I just basically I pushed up. I got a turn one charge into guard. So I was super happy with that, and that just went my way after that. Against Mark in the final, I was terrified. I have a complex with GSC because I've only played them twice, and I think both times they've absolutely destroyed me. With Grey Knights at the time, but it's still the fear is there for real. And that happens. That's another one. So I fear certain players because I've been playing so long that they were just stomping me in multiple tournaments over the years. But I have fear of armies at times as well, just because I've had a very not bad experience, but they've shown me what they can do. And then you have some kind of like complex over the specific units. So you go and try and destroy them first, but then they're just bait, and then you fall for other traps out of that as well.
and I must say, for I've read a lot. Cause I've been reading a lot about looking for a new faction to start collecting because my Death Guard journey is near the end. And Gene Stealer Cult apparently is one of is an expert level player should take because it is hard to understand and to play. So it kind of showed how good Mark is as well because not that I'm saying he's a shite player. I've never played Mark, but for somebody only him to take Gene Stealer Cult when everybody else was taking like Marines, and I think there's one Necron player and there's an R0ot player, but there's a couple of Chaos armies as well. For him to be the only one to be taken, that was quite impressive. I thought he would have taken Sisters personally.
Yeah, no, I would have liked them to take sisters. Definitely would have preferred the sister matchup in that final. I think GSC is one of those ones that I would agree. It's a bit more of a takes a bit of head crunching to do to play, but it's also one of these ones that's relatively new. So like the reason everybody brings Marines, like a lot of people say it's the starting faction, but everybody has Marines as well. Like everyone and their friend or their grandma has Marines. I have like probably 10,000 points worth of Marines, not all built, but I've like 10,000 points worth of Marines. So it's very easy to pick up a Marine army and just go. Whereas a lot of the newer armies, and GSC is still relatively new, not as Votan obviously. A lot of people just don't have the models, don't have the army, just may not have considered it, and it is a bit of an entry point into it as well. Like it's not simple to play. There's a lot of stratagems, there's a lot of synergies with the card units and all in there as well, and they do a lot. Like there's a lot of reactive play in them too. So playing them at all can be quite difficult or maybe hard to start. Playing them at a high level is a whole other ballgame. And then just getting all the models and everything together. There are usually quite a few models. Not everyone likes the idea of running you don't have to run a horde army with them, but not everyone likes running maybe like 60 models. Maybe they just don't want to paint those. They want a couple of tanks, a couple of units of infantry, and that's all they want. So GSC might have an entry barrier because of that as well. But like Broadsword, there's only three GSC. I think there was I've got them here. 2 are running the same detachment. 1's running the one that Mark did, which is probably Mark again since he's going. So I think it's not a super popular arm either. It definitely had its advantages at the start of 10th. They've obviously been a little bit more nerfed or changed at least. They're now the way their units come back is just a fixed number, and you use that number over the course of the game and it expires. Before it was a dice roll, so you could have super good games where you roll really well and you got all your units back every time they were destroyed, or you could roll really terribly and lose your army turn 1 or 2 and then not have anything else come back. So yeah, there's lots of reasons that many armies can be barriers to entry. It can be monetary. It can just be feel for the army as well. It could be their relatively newness. or it could just be down to the rules, or as Duncan coined at the start, expert level requirements to run them. But don't shy away from that. Like,
Yeah, I
playing
mean,
a difficult army is good.
just thinking about that, do you think, obviously, when you see all the community articles where they're talking about, right, the meta's out, here's what's been played, here's like what armies are popular and what's not, and I forget the name of the guy that does it, all the YouTube videos on them. But
Auspex Tactics does a lot
yeah,
of them. Yeah.
yeah, that's the guy. Do you feel that sometimes, like you're saying about this sort of, again, this the thought process of an expert level of play? Do you think sometimes it isn't just a case of people are just comfortable either in what they know or looking at what somebody else is doing and thinking, I can copy that, as opposed to actually sort of challenging themselves, taking loads of losses and thinking, I'm going to do something different and I'm going to try and get, not challenge myself as much as well, but challenge my opponent. Because, like you say, with Gene Stealer cults, they are quite an unpopular sort of force in themselves. I personally love them. I love the lore of them. I love the look of them. But from a competitive gameplay, they're not really, like you say, they're not really there, are they?
It's like they had their time. They definitely had a time
Mm.
when like there was a lot more people running them. But even at that peak, I still don't think it was like the high level. Like nothing's the high level Space Marines, but high
Yeah,
levels of like what Death Guard got to, what Chaos Knights got to, what Imperial Knights got to with their was it like 2 or 3 months ago before their nerf. So it's just you just might not have a lot of people out there with them. The people that were running them were probably already running them. You might get one or two meta chasers going into them as well. There will be people that meta chase all the time. And hey, I mean, if you've got a 3D printer these days, it's very easy to meta chase. You can
yeah,
get your army printed out very, very quickly. Um, with with 10th edition, I think GW hit most of the stuff right. They've kept it mostly, not all, but they've kept it mostly balanced. So I don't think the numbers have changed much until something happens where the meta just shifts. And then everyone's like, oh, I'm going to run the new hot shit. I'm going to run this because I want to win a tournament. I want to do really well at a tournament.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with that. If you've got the bank balance for it, work away. But then there will be a lot of people that follow like the top players. It's like your John Lennon's or something like that, and they'll see, he takes, I don't know what John actually runs, but like you'll see somebody that takes like AdMech when they're like 20% win rate. Maybe there's about 10 regular players every month playing them. He'll come in with AdMech and get first at a massive tournament. And then suddenly you'll see AdMech numbers just jump trying to copy that exact list.
yeah,
And what I feel like is most people aren't understanding that that is mostly the player versus the list. Like they are winning that tournament because of who they are and how well they play versus the units that they take. And this leans back into what I maybe said earlier with play what you're comfortable with, play what
yeah,
you're enthusiastic about. I'm not saying those. I'm not saying there aren't people that might be enthusiastic and joyous about every type of army and every type of list, because I'm sure there are. But I feel you'll do better if you're more into your list than just playing something because someone else played that and it did really well. I personally don't like meta chasing myself. I have done it. I'm not going to lie and say I haven't. But I prefer to kind of pick out my own list as much as possible, and then just run it until I'm not sick of it, but run it until I'm comfortable with what I've got there, change little bits and pieces. And like this time around for this one, going to Broadsword, I'm very comfortable with the list. I know what it all does. I know what's all its little tricks. And I've got something like maybe 20, 21 games in it now so far. It's not a lot, probably doesn't sound a lot, but for the time that I can dedicate at the moment, it's a good bit for just this specific list. Um, and I feel I'm not going to win Broadsword, to be very clear. I've seen the players there. Short of some miracle happening, I'm not going to win. But I'd like to see myself 3 wins. And I think I can. I think I can possibly win my first 3 games. And then it'll come down to more you're pairing into the big bucks at that point. Um, but yeah, people will meta chase because of what's good, what certain players are doing, what's winning for them, and you'll get people, and this happens too. They'll have an army for years, and then suddenly it becomes the hot shit, and they're like, "Cool, I'm going to rack it out," and that drives the numbers up as well. And that's usually where Marines have this weird because there's just so many players, their meta needs to be managed so much by DW. If they make one change to a specific unit, that could drastically change depending on the detachment it's with. They've almost shot themselves in the foot with that by saying, hey, every Marine chapter can use all the detachments from the core Space Marine Codex, because it just creates so many little problems around there. I think they've managed the Black Templar one, although everyone's going Gladius, so we'll see what happens. I think they've managed the Black Templar release quite well. I think they managed the Space Wolf one well enough. Not many Space Wolf players might say that. Blood Angel one I think did really well as well. It didn't break too much. But if they screw it up, the Space Marine meta can jump, and then all Space Marine players get it in the neck, regardless whether they were running the meta or not.
So talking about 11th edition, what faction do you see being the Space Marine faction, and what do you see being the big enemy for 11th edition?
Lore-wise, and I wish I kept more up with what happened in 10th to tell you a proper answer. I can tell you what I'd like to see in both cases, but what I think it'll be probably be dead wrong. It will be Space Marines. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Space Marines will
Yeah, but
be there.
what faction do you think we'll see?
Oh, it'll be
maybe
Blood
the
Angels.
Imperial Fist, or maybe a Primarch come back or something?
I think it'll be Blood Angels. I think they're kind of due up there again. I don't think it'll be Ultramarines, but then GW will probably prove me wrong on that. I think Blood Angels go in there. I don't think they'll get a Primarch back for obvious reasons. I do think another Primarch will probably come back in 11th, but I do not think it'll be at the start. I think it'll be similar to what they did with the Lion, where he came back with, what was the Crusade called? The Vashgor one. I can't remember what it's called. It was like the Arcs of something. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the crusade it was, but the Arcs of something where Vashtor came into it, and then the Lion was back in one of those. I think that's the kind of release they'll do for another Primarch. The enemy faction, though, I think they're going to go back to Necrons. Just that's the way I think that's going. I don't think it'll be Nids again, because just doing Nids again back to back is kind of not there. I think the Necrons will come in, and it'll be the Nids will obviously be present because they're taking over the universe as it is, but I think Necrons will probably make a shine into their Silent King and all. There's been quite a few books in the last couple of years about them, and I'd love to see that. I'd love to see more books, but from the Necrons as well. The Infinite and Divine still is one of the funniest and best ones that I've listened to, not read. So I'd be happy to see Necrons into there as well. I don't think we'll ever see Black Templars as the main faction again. I think 3rd edition was kind of our thing, and that'll be us.
I mean, it's interesting you're saying about the Blood Angels, because that is that thing where we could see Sanguinius come back, but only because Gilliman died and the Emperor brought him back. So you could see the Emperor bringing back Sanguinius as well to maybe cure the Red Thirst, or the Blood Rage, whatever you call it.
This is
but
where
Gilliman did die. I was speaking to your man Kieran in Derry for Hammer Shop, and he was talking at the end of some crusade. Gilliman died, and then he was brought back by the Emperor.
I think he was saved by the Emperor. I think it was against Mortarion or whatever. I have not read what was that called again? I'm terrible with names when it comes to these things. That was the one versus that was the one versus Guard, and it was the Guard they were going on. Basically brought him back, but I think the original him coming back was the armor. So again, I don't think it's the armor of faith, but I think the armor brought him back originally. I think Fangradus is gone. I very much doubt they'll bring back dead Primarchs. Bring back Ferrus Manus. I know there's the whole talk of clones and all that monarchy, but I don't think the original Ferrus Manus or anything will be back in a situation. His head was removed from his shoulders, so I think he's gone. That's why I think Dorn would be my preference to come back next. No preference there because of Black Templars and Imperial Fist, but I do think Dorn would be the next one to come back because there's a hand missing. There's no confirmation that he's dead. Just the hand not there, and hands will be replaced, dogmatics and all that.
It's neat, dead parrot sketch. He's just resting. There's always interesting thing. You know what? No, you touched on it. You don't think it'd be Black Templars. I personally, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking it's 25 years or a little bit more now since that release of the 3rd edition box. Mm-hmm. And know they did the made to order thing a little while ago, which was an absolute rob. But part of me thinks, you know what, you could do Dark Eldar again as a new box, because that as a faction need to kick up the arse at some point. You know, they do get a lot of love, they do get a lot of respect here and there, but I would love to see them have another pump of the old shotgun, as it were. And if you're going to do that, you've got to have Black Templars in the box with it, because it just makes sense.
I mean, if they wanted to lean into Dark Eldar, I could see it. I think with the Eldari, I know Drukhari are still a thing, but I think with Eldari, the way they moved into that and the way you can kind of mix and match some of the units, I don't see them bringing that back as the main box set. I like maybe kill teams, maybe
Mm.
mid-release kind of things, but like the launch box set, I don't think they'll have Marines versus Eldar ever again. I don't ever think it's balanced enough at that point for a new release box. People disagree with me, I'm sure, but yeah, I don't like. I'm always thinking of that with a competitive mindset, which is the wrong way to think with GW, because that's not their primary focus. Mostly, they want to see as many boxes off the shelf as possible. And while competitive is a big part of that, it's definitely not the biggest or not all of it either.
And that's why, if you're thinking about bringing back a Primarch, it would make sense that they're trying to bring back Liam and Russ, because with the Space Wheels box, it makes sense. Why would you bring out a big box and a big hurrah for the Space Puppies if you're not going to bring back the Primarch as well?
I would like to like part of me would like to see like Space Wolves get the Primarch back just because he's a boss. I just wonder where he'd fit into the lore. That's the only thing I would negate any any thought that he would be the first one to come back. I think we might get into a situation where there's enough Primarchs back for a Royal Rumble kind of situation, and that might get a bit messy. They might release a side game, Primarchs or Us or something like. But I like that they bring them back. I'm not necessarily a fan of them on the tabletop because they're like custodes to me. I think part of that is kind of I watch a lot of horror movies, and this is probably segue a little bit. I watch a lot of horror movies, and I like the ones where you don't see what the bad thing is, maybe until the last moment, so your mind gets to play it out there. And I think custodes and primarchs kind of need to live in that situation where you don't get to see their rules. Because like you've got stories of a single custodes taking on an entire Space Marine fleet and blowing up ships and everything and being perfectly fine, or being needing an entire legion, or not a legion, but a couple of chapters to take them down. That kind of thing. Like that should not be represented on the battlefield. Like you can't bring a single model; it wouldn't make sense. It would hit GW's bottom line. But then when you've got like there was one custodes army that had I think 20 custodes on the board. Like that to me should destroy every single other army from a lore perspective. So I don't like that they've pulled back the curtain effectively and shown this is how weak they are compared to this is how strong they were. That's not saying custodes aren't a good army, but it's the
In
wrong
relation to the
feel for
horror movie thing, it's kind of like Event Horizon, where you don't see the dark. It's always hinted at, especially when it's banging on the door and Sam Neill goes, "Let it in," and all that. I prefer that sort of horror where you don't. Always that was my Sam Neill impression. Like, I'm taking bookings for it.
I'll
It's
probably
also
get
like,
shot for this, but the Blair Witch Project is one of the best ones I think that does that doesn't show anything, and it's just
yeah,
like one of the things that just sits in your mind. Like you never see anything, and your mind builds it up at that point. And I think before Custa was released, they were like that as well. I think everyone thought of them as kind of unkillable, near gods, better than Primarchs almost, anti-Space Marines effectively. And them on the battlefield they're good because you've got loads of them, but they're not good enough for the numbers that you bring, at least lower wise.
it does make sense thinking of it like that. It is I think Blair Witch Project, like you say, is probably the best representation of that. And as an aside, when I first watched it, I did not appreciate that film at all. I thought it was a load of rubbish. And then as I've gone back to it later on in life, I thought, you know what? Actually, that is pretty cool. But I think the other thing to compare it to is like the Alien, the very first one.
Yeah.
Very rare fleeting glimpses of it. You know it wrecks people, and when it pops up, you're like, "Oh shit!" And that's what I think, in the push to sell box sets, minis, and to drive their profit lines, they have lost out a lot. It's a shame.
Kind of like Predator as well, because in the first Predator
Mhm.
film, if
He was
if
invisible
you
for half the film.
yeah, I mean,
You hear
as they
him.
say in honest trailers, all they do is look at trees, to trees. And if once you have that mindset that all they're doing is looking at trees, and I think the other good line that they say it's like yuppies going to Africa and shooting lions, like shooting fish in a barrel. Like this thing's overpowered and is just destroying the creme de la creme of the US Army. Like it's just out for a fucking jaunt.
And
But
that's why
yeah,
I
Out
don't
for
think I'm
milk
looking
for the
forward to the
family
next
and
one.
all. I'll go
what
hunting
was
on the
that?
side. Is it out for milk for the family and just hunting on the side?
Yeah,
And that's
Too
why I
many
don't think I'm
adventures
looking
in
forward to the
it.
next one.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, by the way. I do like that they expand the armies. Like,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
it's nice to have that, and I'm sure there are Custodes fans that were like, "This is amazing! I get to run the army that I've been reading about, and I just absolutely love it." I'm sure there's plenty of them that played it and go like, "I hate this because they're not as strong as I thought they would be." But it's still good that they're expanding again. The fact that they introduced squats, Leagues of Votan,
Mm.
they memed that for so long, and it just turned out to be a really fun army. Like, I've only played them a few times, but they're actually thoroughly fun to play against. The rules are pretty cool. They're not as amazing right now as they were, say, on launch, but every army goes through that as well. But I do like that GW is consistently adding to the stuff, and I don't think anyone can actually say they're not bad at lore, but they don't. They keep pushing everything along. They're not letting everything stagnate. They are trying to move it, whether it's good or not, whether you like it or not is another question. But they're always trying to move the storyline and move the availability of models and armies out there for you. So,
See just on the competitive side,
mhm.
when you go to things like Broadsword, do you see people bringing Primarchs, or is it a kind of unwritten rule that you don't bring a Primarch to like one of the top tournaments or like a
I
big tournament like that?
I haven't gone through all the lists yet, but I would imagine there's at least one or two Gillimans, just because there's like four Ultramarines lists in there. And I can't. Like, I mean, they might go Marnez Calgar and what do you call him, Ventress, but I imagine there's at least one Gilliman in there. Um, he's good. Like, I mean, people never avoid taking a unit to a competitive game for any reason. So you will get people who's called cheese, basically the most meta lists. You will get people taking units if they're good. You get people taking units if they're bad as well, but they might not know that. But like the people that are trying to chase the win, and there will be plenty of them in a competitive tournament, myself included, you will get people taking the good units. Like, as a Black Templar player, if I was playing lore wise, I'm not taking an intercessor squad and I'm not taking an infiltrator squad. What do I care if I'm blocking out deep strike? Bring me the enemies closer, quicker. I want to like hack them with my chainswords. I don't want to be. I wouldn't be trying to block stuff or hold back. I just have all Crusaders most likely, which I've done at a broadsword before, and just run at someone. Now half my list is doing that, but not all of it. But if I was to play lore wise, just say like Emmet with his Stompus, um, I wouldn't be in a good position to win many games. I might win one or two depending on what I was going for. But if you bring a lore accurate list, short of you getting paired into a list that just can't deal with yours, you're most likely not going to win a lot of games. Unless you get super lucky and your lore accurate list is also the meta list as well, which is
Aye.
less likely to happen.
I think at one point there was, anytime you saw an Ultramarine list, it had both Guilliman and Calgar in it because of the range of their re-rolls and what they offered. Then it was just a case of their armies would just steamroll up the board. Everything would be moving and going forward and pressing tight. I don't think there is like you say, Duncan, unwritten rule about no Primarchs. It's just a case of I spin it on his head. I don't think you'd have a World Eaters army without Angron being in there for that
All they
same reason.
do, but they don't do well.
Oh,
So
really? Oh, I take that
yeah,
back then. Fair enough. But I think for certain armies, if they do have one big unit that can offer a lot of utility for them, they are always going to take it no matter what, really, aren't they?
and like most of the big guys are usually good. It more comes down to like how synergistic they are with the rest of your army. It's like a Baden. A Baden was like in every chaos list that you saw. He's not anymore. You see Fabius Bile a lot now, or maybe not even Fabius Bile. You see his detachment type being run. But a lot of people lean on the normal characters. But the rules from Abaddon were amazing. Like, it was an aura. You don't see a whole lot, like, there's still a good few out there, but you don't see a whole lot compared to ninth edition with a lot of aura characters that just turn a group of maybe 5 or 6 units that just stay beside him the entire time, move up and shoot or melee. They just get all these buffs from just being within 6 inches of him. You don't see too much of that, but Abaddon was one of the main ones for that because he just gave, by default at least, his one was reroll all hits. I think that's super powerful if you have a ton of other units around you. So there was very, very few lists that never would not have Abaddon on it. Nowadays, though, most people go for the normal characters, from what I've seen at least. He's still good, but most people are going for the Creations of Battle lists where you can get +1 toughness, or I think +1 AP, I think is the other one. But he's got a couple of different abilities out of that. And you don't even need to bring Battle for it either. But yeah, like, you could get tournament organizers, and this happens. Joe ran one, the 40k in 40 minutes, where they can set other rules. Like, there's nothing to say that they can't set other rules to say no Primarchs. And tournaments have done that when the meta has gone wholly one way in the favor of a new army, for example. Eldar were one, Leagues of Votann were another. The rules were so broken, or at least to their perception were so broken, that they banned the army entirely from tournament, or banned certain units from it as well. So TOs have ultimate decision making in their rules pack, so they very easily could include no Primarchs.
I was going to say,
we do know somebody. We do know somebody that ran up an Angron in a 1,000 point list, which was pretty shit.
Mark, if you're watching,
you're still not over that, are you?
No, like, no. 1,000 points.
Just
that's vicious. Like,
yeah, that's goddamn South Africans.
I bring this up every so often when we have an Irish guest on. That my dad's, this is one of your bingo cards, by the way, if you haven't marked it on, that my dad's family are originally not from far away from Castle Bar, and having been there as a kid and seen what it was and seen what it was like, I haven't been there in years, but it feels really, really bizarre to me that it seems to be like almost the second city of Warhammer in Ireland. That obviously for years everything was focused in Dublin, and all of a sudden this one tiny town on the arse end of Lochmarsk, as all of a sudden it's just everything's popped up there because of brutal wargaming. How important do you think it is that for a country like Ireland that it has something like that is a focal point of its main city, like Dublin or Cork, for example?
I'd like to see more of it. That's the kind of height of that. Like, for Ollie and Kira, for what they did there, like what they've effectively embraced outside of their YouTube channel, what they've embraced is just a mail order service to the rest of Ireland and England and Europe. They do too. As business people, they've done amazing. Like, that's fantastic. We'd love to see more of that. Emmett or Adam, if you're watching, they're in our local shop, do more like that. That would be like push the product, as it were. Now, obviously, they do other things like card games and all in Brad's too. So that card games is where you get the money from anyway. I would love to see more. I don't think it should be a unique situation. There are plenty of places in England that do similar. Obviously, bigger group of people there, more cities and all, so you've got more choice. But like, Castlebar ain't a city.
No.
Like, it is a town, and that's extending the town classification there. So, like, it's lovely. Castlebar is lovely.
It is.
Don't get me wrong, it's a lovely place. But like, there are bigger places that you could host out of. So what they've done is just amazing. So keep it up to them.
Has it still got its Wimpy there? Because that Wimpy was banging when I was a kid.
I don't know. I think my entire experience in Castlebar has been for Warhammer. Like, that's literally. I never went there as a child. We went to Westport, so we might have driven through.
Yeah.
But Castlebar, as far as like venturing around the town, I did it once with my wife when we were there for the death of 9th edition. And then I think that was the height of my wandering around. I think I've gone from the Elfin Hotel to McDonald's and Apache, I think, up the town. And that's it. That's all I've gone to. Everyone's been back to the hotel for pints after the tournament. And this year we won't actually even be in the town. We'll be in the Breffy house because we've gotten so big. It was a 100-person tournament. I think there's 93 with a number that have dropped in the last few days. But this is going to be the biggest tournament in Ireland, I think, ever. If I don't know if Joe or anyone's here from back in the day, I don't ever think we were ever bigger than 80 in any of the tournaments. I don't think we ever had the capacity to set that kind of thing up. So it's phenomenal. I'm happy so many of us are going to it from Donegal. But yeah, it's my extent of Castlebar experience.
Like I say, I think just because of my own personal knowledge of it, and I have messaged Broadsword a couple of times and just cracked the odd castle bar joke about a place, but it just seems absolutely bizarre because, just like I say, as a kid, there was just hardly anything there. And now as I've gotten older and I've gotten in like back into the Warhammer and stuff, seeing Castle Bar being on the map and like such an important place for Irish Warhammer and stuff is just mental.
I mean, you get people flying into the airport to come visit
Yeah,
for the tournaments. So, like, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a little thing. I think there's not much. I'm obviously born in the UK, raised in the UK. I don't feel any sort of proper connection to my Irish roots properly that I should do. But this is one of those little things that I'm quietly proud of. I have nothing to do with it. It's I've got no claim to fame on it whatsoever. But it's just like, go on.
See, you're losing out on your true Irish heritage there. If we've come from a place, we will happily sing about we've come to that place for the rest of our lives. So embrace your Irishness there and brag as much as you can.
But I think you at one point tried to say that Barack Obama was fucking Irish at one point because he maybe flew over it when he was like a child.
Everybody's Irish, Duncan. It's the way we got around the world when we emigrated. We bred our way into every single place that we could. So,
Yeah.
The American Pope, he ain't American, he's Irish. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Is he from Boston as well? So that's
yeah,
it.
there you go.
He's definitely Irish. I'm looking to maybe go to Broadsword next year, but the wives and girlfriends are going down this weekend with you, aren't they?
There's a whole cabal of us going. So I'll get this wrong. I think it's 7 and then 6 like partners basically. So it's a big contingent. We're not getting a minibus. So everyone's driving partially separately. Like we've got a couple of like groups together in cars. I'm driving Emmett and his partner down, and my wife's coming as well. I think the wives' plan is beyond joining us for drinks afterwards and food. Is the spa apparently is quite good there. Although I think Emmett's wife has said the walk around the grounds is amazing, and that's basically where she's going to spend her time. And I know my wife, will bring the Kindle and books and stuff as well, and just enjoy the time down there. She's been before. She's not been to this part of Castlebar, but she's been before, and she just wanders around. There's a load of charity shops as well in Castlebar that I know from wandering around as well. So I guarantee if she's up to it, she'll drive into the town and go wandering around those two. But I think all the other ladies, they all have similar plans, which is not. I don't necessarily think they're all meeting up. Which would be class if they did, because distractions and partners gave more Warhammer time to us. But I think their plan is just stick with us when we're all done. But it'll be a late evening on the Saturday. I think the last game finished at like 8:30. And then food, well, shower's mandatory after 3 games of Warhammer. Food and then drinks, that'll be pushing it. I think it'll probably be into town for takeaway and back for pints until God knows what time in the morning. I've warned Emmett, try not to drink until game 2, otherwise he'll fall over. That might be his intention as well.
He lasted brilliantly in Saturday, and Emmett has taken 2 big, massive stompers. Like that's in a few that I don't think in Saturday he said he could actually move his stompers because of the terrain, and he was aiming for the wooden spoon, and he won the wooden spoon.
Now, he's not throwing games, to be very clear, and we had this conversation with him at the start. He's not allowed to throw a game, so he has embraced the competitive side. He's gone full into it with everything except for his list. So his list is intentionally bad in terms of its design, completely valid. And I mean, if he gets lucky, like if he goes on some spike of 6s, he's going to ruin someone's day and ruin his own chance of the wooden spoon. But he is gunning for the wooden spoon in the most competitive fashion that I've ever seen. So I'm thoroughly supporting him. Actually, reading in the Broadsword Discord chat today, there are a few people that are vying for the wooden spoon. So we'll see what happens there.
No, that'll be actually more interesting to watch than who's going to finish first. For me,
I would agree. 100%.
Yeah, that's the real tournament.
Because I won't be finishing first, so I'll be more in tuned into what Emmett's doing.
So, right, you tagged us in a cheeky wee reel there because you recently used our sponsor's code Orange Brushes Inquisition for your 10% off. Uh, as a relative, as you said to me earlier on, you're not a brush connoisseur, but how are you finding the brushes compared to
Um,
the Citadel ones, which we all love and hate?
So I guess let me show you what I'm working with at the moment. So I mainly focus between like three brushes when I'm painting, and that's it. And then some Citadel ones. I have this old dry brush which is as old as my time in Warhammer. I've had this since I started Warhammer, and it's my shit brush. It's what I take the paint out of the pot for before I mix it with water. So it's my shit brush. It has lasted for I don't know how long, but this is one of the original dry brush ones that I had from back in the day. And then I have two of the synthetic ones, which is basically a layer M and a layer S. The layer M looks more like the layer S now, and the layer S looks more like the XS at this point with the bristles coming out and bent and everything. That was that was the extension of it. I have lots of other brushes, Citadel ones, but whether I go to them is another question because it's almost like a fear of I don't want to damage those brushes because they're sitting there. It's a weird fear, but anyway, I do go to the fine detail one every so often. I've got one that's super old there too, just because I don't use it too much. But I got the orange brushes partly obviously I saw you guys advertising it. I was give it a go. Great deal, to be honest, on it compared to the prices for the Citadel ones. I've only used the zero and one of the dry brushes. I'm looking at one of the, I think the zero zeros to use as well. No, no, sorry, it was two and zero and the dry brush. But I'm looking at one of the smaller ones as well for some of the fine detail. Um, it is a whole other experience. Just like I can't explain it, I guess, but like on the synthetics, there's not much of a tip, or it's not that very long. So like when you get brushed in the small synthetic one, it's almost always up to the top if you're not too careful. And I try and look after the brushes the best I can, which is why they're there for that long. But having that little bit more of like length in the brush was nice for me. I'm not a painter, so anything I'm saying here might be sound absolutely stupid. It might be like all brushes come like this and all, but at least the quality from it, it's kept its tip very well. Obviously, I've only been using it for a couple of days. It hasn't got ruined. I've been maintaining it as best I can as well. But yeah, they seem grand so far. The dry brush one, I'm not used to the fatter dry brushes. I think the dry brush ones I've usually had are, I've got one sitting here, I think. Yeah, so like the Citadel ones, I actually like just because it gives me a little bit more direction. So I don't think I've used the more of like the makeup shape ones. So again, I haven't opened this one yet, but like one of those ones. I haven't used that type before, but I have done the slap chop method before, and that seems like it would be something that would be quite good for. I have a lot of backlog to paint, so the brushes will get used. But again, I'm in a situation where I'm definitely not as comfortable where I am right now while waiting for my house. When the house
Yeah.
is ready, I've got a garage and everything. I'm going to have everything in there. Having my paint station back and all, and having kind of all set up would be much more comfortable and nice, and I'll start to work through my backlog as much as I can. I'm sure I'll get distracted like I always do with my ADD brain. Uh, but yeah, I've liked them. Duncan did a great call out for the discount code there for them. I would recommend them just based on my limited use. Obviously, it's limited use, but my first impressions then have been very good so far. If that were to change, I would. I'm one of these people that loves reviewing things in terms of always writing reviews, so I'll happily go back and be like, this brush didn't live up to it, this one did, and that kind of thing. I've more in detail after I've used something for a bit of time. And I do have that conviction usually to go back and do it as well. So they can probably expect some sort of review from me at some point. But so
When
far,
you when you're
love the
when
first
you're
experience.
doing your brush care, orange brushes that I've said to us, and you said it in our previous videos, shampoo. Use your wife's shampoo. That's the best thing for those brushes to clean them with.
This
They
is any
don't
good?
even they don't even say use brush soap.
Nope.
They say shampoo because it's natural hair. You don't wash your hair with soap. You wash it with shampoo. So if you're using your wife's expensive shampoo, just don't tell her.
I've got a big bottle of like generic Head and Shoulders in the bathroom. Can you?
It
But
keeps it like
because we
free as
asked,
well, doesn't it?
There we
Like,
yeah,
go. Perfect.
because we did ask them would they be bringing out like their own like brush soap and stuff, and they went no because we just use shampoo because it's real
yeah.
hair.
I would say again, I'm going to reiterate the amateur side of me from painting. I don't enjoy painting as much as playing, but I enjoy it enough to get something on the board. Um, Brush care, I've only really started caring about probably in the last like year, and most of the stuff is all learned from like secondhand videos. I'll definitely try the shampoo thing to see what happens. Um, And I mean, I have some brush soaps lying around, but I'll give the shampoo a go. But when I've tried to care for my brushes in the past, they've gone bad very, very quickly. I've used like alcohol and stuff to try and clean them. But even like basic things of brush care, I never really properly learned. There's loads of painting techniques I never really properly learned either. Like I mentioned something in the Discord a while back, whereas does anyone have like a highlighting guide? Because I feel like I always follow tutorials. I'm not brave enough to try a technique myself. I've usually followed tutorials for like a model type and I repeat that over and over again. I wouldn't be brave enough to go, oh, this I did this in this model, I'm going to try it in another sometimes. But I highlighted highlighting that I wasn't very good at, and then when I have a highlighting video, I didn't get a lot of useful responses back from the guys in our Discord. It was more like, well, what do you mean? Can you give me an example? I'm talking like the stupidest, like explain it like I'm five kind of thing. I think when I've tried to highlight, I've just always put too much paint on. And then I see some tutorials where they're doing this and all. And yeah, I get lost in this stuff all the same. But that's the brush care side of things. I will try anything anyone tells me. So what you've told me there about the shampoo, I'll give it a go. But I'm always terrible at it. Won't do
Mhm. Isn't it funny how there's always something, I think, with hobbyists in general, where we overcare about some things and then just don't give a shit about others. Like, I think brush care is the main one, really. I think it's one that we've properly spoken to, Dunk. I think over the 2 years of doing this, it is always, oh yeah, just shove them in some water and then just leave them on the side to dry, and or just you get some absolute madness people come out with, and it's only like you say recently where people have sort of sat up and paid a bit more attention. Like, hang on, some of these brushes cost a bit of money. Why are we just keep spending money on them? Look
Aim
after
it
them.
as long as you can. Like, yeah, like I was guilty of that, putting the brush in the pot, pressing
Yeah.
down, and being like, why is my brush dying so quickly? Why is it not going to point anymore? Duh. Like gravity alone kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like what actually the things that we avoid. So what I'm doing right now, because I don't think I'd be able to paint while I'm chatting, just putting the stuff on the base. I never based any of my models. Like
Mm.
genuinely, I never ever did the base. I wouldn't paint the rim. I think the most I ever did for WG or ETC at the time was I put PVA glue, I dipped them in grass, and that was my base, and that was it. I was like really, really quick doing it. I only had about 15 models that I needed the base as well, so it was very, very quick. Everything else had like clear stands or was a vehicle. But I never did this. Once ninth edition rolled around, I bought the technical paints, and I was like, what does this do? Tried it once, like, oh, this is cool. Did it in literally every single model I do now. To the point I've gotten other tutorials, and I've went and done like the fancy. I don't know if you can make this out without any light, but it's like the corn base with all the spikes
Mm.
coming out of it and all. So I went and done little things to add on to bases, like little tufts and all as well. And I really enjoy it now. But it's something you couldn't have paid me to do back in the day.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm not spending time after I'm done painting them, which I didn't want to do in the first place anyway, to then also have to base them because it wasn't a requirement in most
Mm.
either. The battle ready back in the day for tournaments was basically 3 colors minimum. There was very little.
Yeah.
ETC had base rules, but everything else was just 3 colors minimum. Much prefer the push for battle ready because it pushes people like me that has no interest in it, or I don't want to say no interest, but less interest in the painting side of things, to actually go and do it.
Yeah.
And you'll find people that have an absolute talent for it. We had one guy that joined, I don't know if he's here, he watched the recording, Connor Patton from our group. He joined, I think maybe a year after we had started the Buncrana group up in Donegal here. And his first model was phenomenal. Guy had never painted a miniature before. I don't think he'd done any art stuff before. And his first model, I think, was like it might have been a Blood Angel character, like a captain or something. And it was just amazing. The man has pure talent with it, and everything he's produced since then has just been better beyond. To the point that he should be entering competitions for these things. But yeah, just you will discover so many people that have just natural talent in this that if you give them the push to get into it, they will. And I think GW have done a better push at that by actually embracing like here's the battle ready and this is what
Mm.
then the tournament standard as well. And tournament standards I feel drive that. GW can push the message, but when tournaments then embrace the same kind of thing, I think that drives a little bit more just because it's a requirement. So no one wants to miss out on the 10 points that you get for fully painted or fully battle ready now. So I think that's a nice drive to get people into painting and embrace their talents there. I am not one. I will always be terrible at painting. I have to follow tutorial guides. I get
So
absolutely stuck down in color management and everything.
So because long-time viewer and old man and serial killer who lives in the Yorkshire Dales has just joined A-Up Painting, we haven't asked your question yet, Graham, because you weren't here, but we're now going to ask your question to Shane.
Okay.
So Graham's question, like he asks every guest, is what Primark would you bring back and why?
I've technically answered that already. So for missing at the start, I play Black Templars, so this might be an obvious answer. I would like to bring back Dorn because father of the chapter, as it were, that birthed us. Um, he'd be my preference. That's it. I would like to see him come back without the hand, the Augmetic. It'd be funny as well. And actually, Connor, to bring up his name again, he sent me a reel today with a tutorial on how to paint yellow. So if they brought back Dorn, I could foresee some of my unpainted Space Marines becoming Imperial Fists. I've only ever painted one Imperial Fist, and I was very unhappy with the yellow that I got out of it. So I would like another chance at that. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair because
Dawn can
when you
have black
walk,
color. It's fine.
yeah, it is weird
black's
yellow
not as
because
easy as you think to paint.
No.
I mean that is the weird thing about yellow because people say, oh, you need to put another colour and then put yellow on top of it. So I've seen people put cream and orange and then put
Pink.
yellow on it.
Man, if you could talk to past me and you could tell him, hey, you got to paint one different undercoat first before you paint that undercoat on top of that one, he'd laugh at you and go, I'm not even basing the miniatures. No, like the paint theory stuff, I wish I understood it better. Like color matching, I literally, my brain does not work that way. I got none of the artistic talent in my family. My brother and my sister got it all. They're phenomenal. Brother's a great artist, photographer, everything. Sister just has a natural talent for like tasteful stuff. I don't. I have a numbers brain, like programming brain, whatever. Terrible at languages, terrible at art. Just can't do it. So black was a very easy one for me. Um, yeah, no one will ever get to see this ever again, obviously, because I gave away the model. But my first Tau battlesuit I painted, I did not thin any of my paints, and I didn't know I needed to thin my paints because I painted Tyrannus before, which is black and red, and that was two colors, and I was done. The Tau I painted in a way that had like the camouflage effects, like different colors and different spots and all. But I painted the entire model the whole color every single time. So when I sold that model on watered down paints to one of my friends, or I gave it away to one of my friends. He had to strip it for 4 days to get all the paint off of it, like layer after layer to get down. And he goes like, "What do you paint this with?" And I was just using Citadel paints. And he goes, "Did you thin your paints?" So it must have added like an inch almost onto, or half an inch onto the
Oh,
model in terms of thickness. But yeah, I never embraced anything painting until honestly the battle ready stuff was pushed. And then I went out. But yeah, yellow I would love to have a go. Dorn is definitely something that would kick me straight back into it if they brought him out.
uh, what else is great?
So as you know, like as we discussed previously, you've got a couple of kids ticking about. Obviously, you one of your kids is at the teenage years. Are any of your kids sniffing about Warhammer now, or are they still just strictly off it?
I don't have the miniatures in reach, so I bought them all like a small set. I let them pick their unit, as it were, and got the starter paint set and all. The two eldest ones first and gave them a go. The youngest one was a bit too young at the time. They painted like a model or two. The middle child played a game and absolutely thrashed me. In one of the combat patrols, she had my Grey Knights, and I used Black Templars. Absolutely lifted everything off me without me killing a single thing. Very proud of the moment there. But there's no general real interest. I wish there was because it'd be more girls in Warhammer as well. Um, the youngest one has gotten into her phase now where she wants to do the same kind of things as I'm doing when we're doing it. So like if we're painting models, she wants to paint models as well. She got five little Space Marines. I think it's one of the starter box sets with NIDs and Space Marines in it. I think it's like 10 Termagants or five Termagants and five Space Marines. She has painted them quite well. Well, again, for a new person at the modeling hobby. I think she'd be more interested in it just because she's the more artistic one of the group. My eldest likes art, but it's more drawing than paint and physical medium. But the youngest one loves painting, loves like messy kind of stuff, get her hands dirty, paper mache, that kind of stuff. So I think she'd like it. I'd like to take her up to the Dairy Warhammer shop and just take her one of the painting tutorial days. to actually learn from somebody that knows what they're doing, rather than me trying to like say, just yeah, thin your paints now and yeah, apply that color. Like at the moment, she's super just happy doing what she's doing. She's got the freedom to do whatever she wants in the model. But I think like a little session up in one of the shops would be a good shout, and she'd probably enjoy that more. And it'd be a day out with daddy kind of thing. So go out, get lunch and all of that. And I think she'd thoroughly enjoy that. So that's what I'm thinking about in the new year, basically try and poke her into the hobby a little bit more. She has not played a game yet though. And that's where my strengths come in. I think I'm good at teaching people the game and getting them brand new into it.
Well, you
I'm
are
very
good.
tough
You are
though.
good at that. You are good at that. And Graham says you should get your youngest to do your bases for you. That's a great idea.
Well, oh, I saw, what is it, like Daddy War like that I've seen recently on Instagram, where your man has the child doing all the different painting tutorials, and
Yeah.
she explains everything she's doing about it, and she did the bases and they look class. Like, 100% bases would be a good one just for like the messy aspect of it. It's just the time at the moment. I'm in a weird situation with the house at the moment. So I share my kids with my ex-wife. So right now they're kind of mostly at their mum's until the house is ready. They're looking super forward to the new house because they all get their own room, girls. But yeah, once we're back into that stability, as it were, I'll look forward to trying to give them more to do, and they can come out to the garage to me, or I'll have my hobby set up, and they can do whatever. If they want to come out and sit with me while I'm working and build bases, I'll be more than happy for it. The eldest two will not want to do that. They're at the boyfriend girlfriend age and dances and yay, all that fun and
You get
jazz.
all that to look forward to, Shane. It just gets fucking worse by the way. That's why I'm
Man,
involved.
worse than what I'm at right now with some of them, I swear. Like, this is going to make me sound so old, but I swear some of the words that they're using at this age, like I've never heard someone say slay so much outside of like a Doom game in my life. Uh, but yeah, no, I will sound old from that, but they're good kids at the end of the day. I enjoy being a dad. It's one of the things that I think, for outside of perspective, maybe not, but I think I'm good at. I like being a dad. I like imparting what wisdom I can, explaining to them what they do wrong in certain circumstances. And I think they're good kids. I hope that lasts as long as my belief in them lasts as well.
Yeah, all
Um,
we can do is keep them off the pole. You know what I mean? As long as we keep them off the stripper poles, that's our main job in life. But I mean,
yeah,
I was just trying to bring it back to the Bintana Donegal Dice Winners. We over the even though I've only been in the club, I say club roughly the last 2 years, it's grown quite exponentially the last 2 years. There's so many new people coming in to the club, and even though I had a great idea, Casey, right, for this Call to Chaos tournament, because they only play on a Thursday, so I had this brilliant idea that we should meet up on a Sunday to do like an extra game,
you
and
have to
never once
clarify
did
the
I
Yeah,
turn
you
up.
tell
rules
me
as well.
this.
Never once did I turn up. It was a great idea, I just never implemented it.
Mhm.
Uh, the club has grown quite well. Like I think in the Thursday games are starting to get a bit tight in the shop.
We've started to run out of room basically, which isn't it's a good thing to have and a bad thing at the same time, because you have to kind of tell people no, you can't come and play that night because there's no physical room for you. And around like these tournament sessions, that might stunt some of the club growth itself. Now we don't really like proactively advertise the group or anything. We've got our hobby post every so often. The Wild Atlantic Wargamers, which is the one up in Letterkenny, they advertise way more than us, basically, just by they have a bigger population up there, so they've grown even more than us. But just having that natural growth without much of a push from us has been, as you say, exponential. We get people that drop in and drop out, might not see them for months on end. We get folks that are literally just there for discussion of lore in the Discord group and all. But steadily, the competitive side of things has been growing, which I love. I love the fact that we've gotten so many people going to tournaments now. Um, but we are like a critical mass for space, and this is actually another side of the things. When the house is ready, I have a very big garage planned, and I have enough room for. Technically, I could fit 16 people between the garage and tables in a game session if needs be. So my hope is once that happens, I'll set up 2 tables, and folks, if we need overflow, basically come out to the house out there. It's relatively close together anyway. We could very easily organize slightly bigger Thursday nights. Um, Now, again, I don't know if Emmett will ever watch this. I will repeat what I said when they first started. I think they'd do really well as a full gaming shop. It's not what it is right now. Like right now, it's a tourist shop, sells tourist goods in the town, which does quite well. Obviously, that'd be quite seasonal in Ireland, especially. It's also a computer repair shop, so it has computer stock in there. It's got 3D printing stock in there as well. He does a lot of photograph work, photo restoration and stuff as well. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge. I think that's normal in Ireland with the IT shops. They seem to do a bit of everything. But it's kind of a mix mash. I think they do quite well as a general gaming shop. Now, it's not that there's a shortage of general gaming shops in the area. We've got Derry close by, which is the nearest city. And they've got Games Workshop. They've got Puka Puka, a few other like comic book kind of game shops. But I think if they leaned into being a full-on game shop, multiple gaming tables, card games, drafts, and everything going on, they'd make a lot more money. And that's just my opinion. And then again, if you watch this, I still think it's a good idea. Whether you, I know the real reason is they don't want to do it because the card game thing is a little bit predatory. Like you spend an absolute ton of money. Kids spend an absolute ton of money. I mean, we spend loads of money on Warhammer, but it pales in comparison compared to some of the card game ones.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit predatory there. So I kind of understand why maybe they don't want to do it. But at the end of the day, it's a business as well. Like Broadsword, going back to them, they've done so well. There's enough room in Ireland for multiple gaming shops like
And
that.
and it is the one thing that Donegal don't have. Like, I think if you take away Derry, if you just look at the Republic, our closest friendly local gaming store is in Sligo, which would be serious business for my guests.
Yeah.
Like, I know there was the one in Letterkenny, and that guy fucked it. He concentrated too much on the card aspect, and I think he maybe fell out with the Warhammer person, and just never. He had a perfect business for Letterkenny and Donegal. He kind of made that the hobby centre, kind of like what the ones up in Kilrain and then the shop up in Bangor. They kind of made that a central hub for people playing. Like the shop up in Kilrain, it's a tiny shop, but it gets such space through the back where there's so many different games playing, like Bolt Action and Combat 47 and all the other different types of games. Whereas Endgame, and it was called 60 or 67 before that. He totally fucked it. And I think you're right. I think if somebody had some money behind them and some time, they could really make it a decent and a good hotspot for Donegal.
Like you have to do exactly what Broadsword have done, and you have to embrace it wholeheartedly. Like YouTube advertising, setup. Like their shop is tiny. Like if anyone's ever been to the Broadsword shop, it is tiny. Like I think it could fit what they had. I mean, they had the Death Knights tournament. You could fit maybe 5 games going on there at most. And I don't even know if that's 5 2,000 point games. It's a tiny shop. So like their footprint is not even promoting the playing there. Now they might have moved to a bigger shop in the last year or not. I'm not 100% sure on that. But originally, like starting 9th edition into 10th, their shop on the main street was tiny. And look how well it's done. You definitely don't need the space. It's a help, 100%. But you need to lean wholeheartedly in if you do a game shop like that. And I think like Puka Puka there is a good example. But talking about the Letterkenny one, they shot themselves in the foot just because they alienated people. That's it. You have to be like a complete politician, but a good politician. You have to play all sides of the game.
Yeah.
Every single card game, Warhammer, you have to be nice to them all. Everybody has to be in your good graces and vice versa. To the point of when they closed, they were the only real comic book store in Letterkenny. One of the lads who has my namesake from Letterkenny as well, Shane, I've run into him in Derry multiple times because that's the nearest place he can go for comic books now. So he drives all the way from Letterkenny, which Bunchanna's a shorter journey, and you're basically going there anyway. You just drive all the way to Letterkenny to Derry to get his comic books. And he played board games, and I don't think he played war games, he played card games as well. So like that's a market there that you could very easily corner.
Yeah.
Again, you'd have to lean into it. Now, there's a lot of work there as well. So I completely understand having an existing business and not wanting to grow into a completely new space without even slightly testing it. So it's a scare factor there too. But I would love to see it. Like obviously I have a bias there, that I love the game, so I'd love to see more Warhammer space and stuff like that. But I mean, hey, if I ever won the lotto and I retired, I'd probably open a Warhammer shop. So
That's what I was going to say to you. Would it not be something that you'd be interested in doing yourself, like flying solo, taking that risk? Because we had Moonhopper Games on 2 3 weeks ago, and that guy basically set up his own paint brand and shop, and that was through COVID. Would it not be something that you would be interested in?
um, I don't think I'm a good business person. That's the only reason I say that. I would 100% do it if I just had the disposable cash to do it.
Yeah,
That's the easiest way to put that. But I mean, there's very few things people would do if they had the disposable cash to do it and they had any sort of joy around it. So, like, I don't know, my dad, when we were younger, always talked about opening a bar in Spain if you won the lotto. It's what we enjoy doing. So, I mean, everyone says that. I would just do it if money was not a problem, basically. If I didn't have to
yeah,
worry about anything, I could just run it at a loss or break even. Sure. I don't think I'm a good enough business person to push that kind of thing. I would wholeheartedly give it a go if I wasn't doing anything else. Obviously, I got a full-time job, so I'm not going to try and run a shop at the same time. I'm sure people can do it. I'm just definitely not for me at the moment. But if you're already running a business and you're already doing that for a while, I think you got that avenue that you could try and push into it. Again, if
yeah,
anyone's watching, hey, I'd be happy to help as well. And I mean, I do. I help with the club side of things. Beyond teaching players, I enjoy that. Beyond like running games, or I haven't run a tournament yet, as Joe, if you watch this, will repeat multiple times. I've not run my own tournament yet, up in Donegal at least. It's something on the cards to do. But I still wholeheartedly help on all the social side and everything as well. Do the hobby post, run the Discord, get that set up and the general pains and stuff as well. So I enjoy doing that, enjoying helping out when I can. But I wouldn't like to take like a fee for it personally, like that kind of thing. I wouldn't like it to be a job for me. I like it because it's fun and I enjoy helping out.
yeah,
One thing that this has gotten into my head the last while, something I would like to do, as a kind of like not even a side business. Again, it's one of those things I'd like to do and try and like break even on and just enjoy doing it. Would be producing dice and like the mats and the accompaniment for like competitive Warhammer. And I say that from having bought a fuck ton of them in the last while. The amount of dice and like objective markers or like dice rolling boxes and stuff, and most of it definitely takes a lot of work, but most of it is down the alley of like 3D printing or laser engraving, that kind of thing. I would like to maybe see if that's a possibility. And now that I will have a garage, an external thing for the house, so I can't blow up the house from or light it on fire, having something like space like that, I would like to actually give it a go and see what it's like. To the point of I've joined like a number of different subreddits about dice making and stuff, and just to see like what's needed. Like I generally don't know a lot about it. It might be too much work to be a business, but it might be nice that hey, I can print off my own custom batch of dice and let's see what happens.
yeah.
And I mean, I guess some businesses probably start like that as well, where it's like I just want to do this for myself. Oh, someone else wants this done. I guess yeah. This is the amount that the materials cost me. Here you go. And then suddenly there's a lot more demand. You're like, yeah, cool. I'll do it all this, but it's a little bit more time, so charge more. And oh wow, I've got a business running now, so maybe I'll just keep growing it. Um, and not to say there's not a lot of people that make dice and objective marks and stuff like that. There is, but locally there's enough demand for it that you could actually get quite a bit out of it as well. So,
Yeah.
anyway, if anyone steals my idea in Donegal, I'll actually be very happy because I won't have to do it to the business degree. So please do. But yeah, like again, back to the original subject. If money wasn't a problem, I would happily open a game shop, but it wouldn't be a business thing for me. It'd be more just a labor of love.
Cool. Right, I think it's maybe time to call it there because I need my beauty sleep. I
And I've
mean,
talked forever.
and you've got models to paint for Saturday, and I don't want to be the sole blame for you getting disqualified for not having 3 colours and all your Black Templars.
I'll have it done one way or the other, come hell or high water. I was painting Grey Knights in a hotel the night before a tournament. It'll get done. But yeah, thank you for having me. By the way, I know I've talked your ears off, as it were, but it's been a pleasure.
Not,
Do
yeah,
not worry about
absolutely.
it.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Shane. So for people that don't know, is there anything you'd just like to shout out and give a shout out to?
Big shout out to the Donegal Dice Slingers. I hope we all do amazingly at Broadsword. At least 2 wins per person, with the exception of Emmett, because he's intentionally trying to lose without actually intentionally trying to lose. But everyone else, I hope, has a safe journey down there, and I hope you all get beat by Donegal Dice Slingers. So all of that for everyone else going to Broadsword. Beyond that, you can find us at Donegal Dice Slingers as well, the club. I have a social offices on here, but you don't see much from me other than posting crap. So Donegal Dice Slingers is where you follow for most of our club stuff. So that's the one I would recommend. And obviously, because I'm using them, I bought them and are promoted by them as well. Orange brushes. Go buy some orange brushes off the Inquisition code as well, please, because drive business, drive Instagram, drive podcasts like this, because they're freaking amazing.
Casey, any final words of wisdom from you this week?
No.
Right. So I think next week we've got our auditor, our
Yep.
sex police person is on next week. Ems,
Need a better name
sex
than
offender
sex
police.
Yeah.
Oh, sex offender police. She's the one that does all the background checks and make sure you're not asking people for nudes or being a ungroovy a-hole. I'm going to keep using that because I think it's fucking so funny. But we should be, I think we're back with her next week, and then we've got Rob the week after, and then we've got Golden Voice Chris Tester from Audible fame, who's done a few 40k books at the end of the month. Folks, give Shane a follow. I'm sure he'll be updating his Instagram on over the weekend, and definitely give Donegal Dice Slingers a follow as well, and you can see our weekly, monthly, or whenever people post pictures on our Discord, Shane puts them up as well. And thanks for joining us this week, folks. Shane, thanks again for joining us. Good luck for Saturday, mate, and maybe you'll play, mate, and not run away, and we'll have a good game at some point.
February. I'll see you in February.
See you February. Folks, see you next week, and I will love you and leave you. Bye-bye.
Guys.
Adios, guys. Have a good one. See you later.